That's interesting. I have a chat rate of 2, and I have no idea what that means. No clue. Well, here we are live. It's been a busy day. The challenge of today is trying to get 30 seconds of show done. This is the challenge, and it's a biggie. So let's give it a crack. I am at 3:10 p.m. and been going since about 7:30 this morning, I would say. So there's been a fair amount accomplished since then. So this is the sequence I've been working on, and so let's just kind of sit through this, and when we get to, I don't know, about probably 20 more seconds or something, we're going to hit the new stuff, and then we're going to be forging ahead in Tahoma. So this has mostly all been done in Krita, so this is all new. This is all new. This elderly couple is going to the royal wedding, except they find out that only nobles are allowed. They're not actually permitted inside. So the kind officer sends them on their way. And then we got this shot where Fala and a soldier are approaching the tent of preparation theme, I would say, of the tent that they're approaching is pink. So I'm going to close my schematic, and so the first thing we're going to have to do is deal with the background painting. Okay, so I guess I'll use this brush. And we want kind of a somewhat muted color as a basis. Okay, and then let's hit the old B key. So we'll see how far we get today. I did find out that Krita seems to be a little questionable with, well, what I did was this entire shot was all in one Krita file, and it was kicking around 2 gigabytes of memory, I would say. So I'm basically baking all these shots into a single shot. So actually all of this was one Krita file. And I have to say, it didn't do well. It didn't do bad, badly, but it didn't do great either. Greatly, I guess, to use proper English. It does appear to me that maybe there's something going on with the tablet driver, maybe with OBS, such that sometimes Krita becomes unresponsive when you are to this guy, to the stylus. It becomes unresponsive, and it doesn't look to me like it happened when OBS wasn't running. So this morning I was actually recording. I was basically going to turn it into a speed video because it's just like, you know, for lack of a better idea, I am not going to overthink it too much. But on the other screen, what I'm going to do is refer to the last, I'm going to refer to this. Okay, so basically we're talking about, this is the tent that they've approached. And so, as I say, we need to go ahead and create the next shot, and that's going to require a background painting. So I'm just going to sketch it in. I'm kind of, it's kind of like there's no rules, you know, just rock and roll and see what happens. So You can see there's the opening to the tent, so the soldier's going to kind of reach down and pull the flap back. That's what's happening. So that would mean, methinks, that actually follow the back of her head would be right around here, something like that. And the soldier would be something like that, and he's going to lean in, pull this flat back, and that gets us through the shot and onto the next. So that's what we're going to do. So let's see here. I suppose I'm going to actually I'm going to pink it out. Reason being that there's not really a good way to do I can't do a shape fill, so to speak, the way you can in Krita, unless I go to a vector layer, and I'm not really quite prepared to do that. So like I said, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a very sketchy approach and just kind of get things blocked in, and then whoops, and then go from there. So we're making this up as we go along, people. Making it up as we go along. So I figured it'd be interesting maybe to jump over to Tahoma, just see how it goes, because I mean really I'm determined to figure out what it really takes to knock out 30 seconds in one day consistently. And what I'm doing right now is usually the reason why it's hard to get 30 seconds in, because your background paintings, you know, they take a lot of time. But they're also a lot of fun, so no good complaining. Oh, come on, Tahoma. So yeah, this is one of the things I want to see, if when you're doing as much as I'm doing, you start to see the rough edges on your software. So from that standpoint, I figured, okay, if I'm gonna beat myself up with Krita all morning, why don't we go ahead and try Tahoma for a bit and see how that goes. So, Dead Pianist, hey Dead Pianist, how's it going? So I'm hitting the R key, whoops, R key. I'm gonna knock out the shadow area. So I'm really trying to get better and better at just seeing in my mind what I'm trying to do. And that's hard. I mean, it really is a challenge to visualize thoroughly. This is the challenge. This is the whole challenge. The challenge of knocking out in an animation, or a cartoon, I should say, a show by yourself, is it's very much a disciplined thing. You know, this is what I'm absolutely determined to learn about and defeat this challenge. Beat this monster if I can. So the truth is, I'm a fairly lazy guy, actually. Sorry. And you know, there's a point where it's not worth it. That is a fact. Where you go, oh, geez, man, if I'm going to have to, like, be glued to this chair for, 7 hours a day or 9 hours a day or whatever it is, then, there is a point where you go, I don't know. Whoops, that wasn't supposed to happen. Okay, so let's hit the Z key. F Fill tool. Hey, come on, fill tool. What the heck? That's obviously. Let's put the fill depth, the minimum, to 0. Yeah, I mean that's better, but not great. So, does it even make sense to have like two levels of shadow here? Probably not, but if it looks good, it is good, right? That's kind of the rule with the cartoons. So yeah, I'm actually thinking that 2 levels is not the worst thing ever. So what's going on out there? Dead Penis, what's going on with you? Talk to me, man. Give me something to focus on besides the stamina I'm having to pull out of myself to, like I said, stay glued to this chair. It is, it's funny because once you actually sit there and do it, because see, I've had shots. I mean, I've had days where I've gotten 30 seconds done, but I have a alarming proclivity to announce what's possible before I've really done it consistently. So I kind of mentioned that in the video, I think yesterday, maybe the day before, I don't know. And it's just like, you know what I'm trying to say? Okay, that actually looks pretty good. So now I'm thinking we would have a more muted kind of a, yeah, I mean that's okay. Why does it keep jumping like that? It's like it's not letting go of the tablet. Okay, this is not horrible. This is not horrible. Let's grab the oil brush. I really like this brush. I've done a lot of background paintings with it. And probably not a bad idea to save your work. But, I mean, Krita probably crashed. What am I drawing? LTT. Hey, LTT. I don't recall seeing you here before, so welcome to the bash. I'm going to crank up the sensitivity. So, Dead Pianist says, what are you drawing? What I'm drawing is, I'm just doing the next shot. So today, this morning, I did all this. Blah, 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 blah. On and on it goes. I just did this shot a little bit ago. This is all done in Krita. And now I'm up to this shot. So what's happening is, maybe to explain it, is that the soldier is walking up to this tent with Fala, and they're about to enter the tent. So before I can get my characters going, I need to get the background painted. So it's just what you got to do, Okay, now that feels pretty good. I like that. Okay, yeah, turning up the well, you guys saw what the curve looked like, so you can see that I tend to do better with a pressure setting that's basically more sensitive. I don't have to press as hard to get the result, so it's all good. So yeah, I'm just getting the background painting done. So this is interesting shadow area. This is kind of what I was trying to do. The reason it's two-tone is that there's basically a different shadow tone underneath the tent, and I'm feeling like it probably needs to be even darker. So it's hanging over, right? And then there's a cast shadow. So, but by using this oil paintbrush, I can kind of, well, like over here, you might see some light sort of bleed in. It sort of comes around the corners a little bit. So it's all kind of about what feels good. Now that was a boo-boo. I'm going to hit the R key. and then the B key. I'm going to work back into this. I want to, so the paintings, you know, the backgrounds are a little more painterly or realistic, I suppose one might say, than the actual animation stuff. So, but I like this. I mean, this is fun. I'm moving pretty fast, and I have to say that the result looks pretty satisfactory. And believe me, if I didn't, I'd tell you. So let's just bite into that and kick up the contrast. Obviously, we can't. So what we can't do in Tahoma, so easily anyway, is just you know, we can't do curve operations. We can't, you know, if you're gonna paint a background, you pretty much got to do it the hard way. You have to paint the darn thing. So, and anything that involves color, you pretty much have to paint it all in there. Hence, I'm just taking the approach of let's just move really fast and kind of take a step back and see if it's looking good and blah blah blah. So, it's looking good, Dead Pianist says. Thanks, Dead Pianist. I appreciate that. Why are you a dead pianist? I don't think you're dead. If you're here chatting, then you're most certainly alive. Okay. Let's kind of go with that for the moment. And okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over here and find a sky color. All right, I sort of have to work backwards here a little bit. Okay. Okay, now I can feel a little more green in that tone than I prefer, so I'm going to go back into it and push it a little bit more towards the blue. Okay, so what am I doing? I'm chiseling a piece out of, is probably picking up some pretty aggressive specular, not specular, it wouldn't be specular if it's like a canvas type material, but it's picking up some highlights from the sun. So I'm just kind of kissing into this color, trying to find the right tone to smack into this roof. And as always, I reserve the right to fail miserably. Okay, let's grab this, and there's going to be an aggressive shadow area there. Don't feel like it's got quite enough blue in it, so let's grab that. Smack a little bit more blue into it. There you go. Okay, that's gonna actually come, this is tricky. That's gonna be like that. It's gonna be really dark. And then I'm gonna have to come back over that. Okay, so that, don't like that. I'm gonna hit undo a couple times. Okay, so now, is that the side of the tent's gonna be, well, okay, so you got this shadow. How is this project coming along? Well, as I said, I've knocked out how much? Today so far, since 7:30 a.m. 26 seconds, which isn't horrible. 26 seconds of show. And So it's actually kind of helpful, by the way, I'm noticing, to look up at the OBS preview screen. That's actually quite useful. It gives me an itsy bitsy version of the drawing that kind of gives me a fresh perspective on it, which is pretty cool. Let's grab this and put another, and just put that across like that. Probably a little bit of a transition zone here. Just kind of work back into this. A lot of times what I do is I'll kind of chew up into the color and then sample the mixed tone, and then that kind of helps with the occasional blending. So Yvette, to answer your question more specifically, here's the deal. You know, last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever, I was talking about crowdfunding. Well, I kind of came to a firm decision that I don't want to say too much more about crowdfunding until I've tested some things about my workflow. So I'm not jumping the gun in terms of what I think I can accomplish, and you know, at what point we're looking at having to hire more people and build a team, because you know there's a limit to. It's really not it's not a work limit per se, or a 4 months I'm really sure I can do. 6 months is cake. 3 months I'm seeing that it's definitely it could be done. I've done entire movies from start to finish in 4 months. So it can be done, but it's tough. You know, you got to really be focused and stay the course. So hence what I'm doing is I'm just putting my animation workflow to the test here. So, which today means sit your ass down in the chair and stay there until 30 seconds of show is done. That's what I'm doing. And it's definitely challenging. Right around that, somewhere between the 3 and 4 hour point, I start getting a little itchy. Okay, let's go a little richer blue here. So I know that sounds ridiculous. I mean, what kind of a sissy are you that you can't just like be focused for, you know, for 8 hours or whatever, right? People do it all the time. I admit it, I'm a lazy bum. So, with that in mind, I gotta challenge myself here a little bit. Challenge myself. So, put some background music. It helps a lot while drawing. Well, I will say this, Dead Pianist. When I was working, I think yesterday or the day before, I put background music on that you guys could hear on here. It was basically music from my own movie scores that I've done. But I do have background music on. It's just playing out of the speakers over there. So I don't know if you guys want to hear background music, or if you're saying from my own, you know, for my own enrichment, hanging in there and staying focused. So, okay, so I would say, okay, gotta catch that sunshine. It's crazy how much I've said this before, I know, but man, when I started this, I really truly believed I was gonna despise background painting. No, it turns out it's the opposite. I actually really like background painting. Boom. I tend to make stupid sound effects a lot when I'm doing background paintings, like saying, boom. I don't know why. I can't help it. I'm feeling like this is looking pretty good. Okay, a little bit more of the highlights here. So yeah, I do have background music on. Of course, if you put music on that your audience can hear, then you're kind of at risk of inviting some like copyright strikes and stuff. That's why I was using my own music the other day. Right now, I've got some very, very mellow film score music going in the background. So R key, B key. Okay, save our work. Now, what we're going to want to do is probably figure out what the actual the flap's going to look like. So what I'm going to do is actually, let's go fill tool in freehand mode so I can lasso it. And what I want to do is actually change the lines. So I'm going to add another color here and just make it something really stupid. Okay, so now what that did for me was now I can take and assign it that color and fill that. Hello? Oh, sorry. Lines and areas. For the moment, we'll do lines and areas. Okay, okay, that'll work. And now I'm actually going to work in reverse. So D. And I think what I'll do is just go like that. D key again. D. D. Okay. So what was that for? Well, so that at the right time, the soldier can pull the tent flap back. Okay, and we're going to do a little bit more to those drawings here in half a second, but the first thing I want to do is each reverse. Okay. Okay, yeah, cool. And so I assume that, okay, now, okay, this is a guarantee moment right here. I did not know this, so guys, pay attention. This is a big deal, what I just noticed. I've wondered for, 2 years how to do this? Okay, here's what you do. If you've got a sequence of images, because I knew how to loop animation keys. So if you had animation keys on here, there's a little icon you can push, little tiny icon, and you get this squiggly line that runs down the page, and then it loops forever, right? I just figured out how to loop an image sequence. I think I know the answer. If you grab multiple images like this and then go like this, if they're selected, the ones you've grabbed repeat. I never knew that. That's so cool. Okay, so Darren's out there if he's watching going, Dave, you're so stupid. Like, how do you not know that after using OpenToonz and Tahoma for umpteen years? Yeah, it's pretty sad. Okay, so the soldier's going to walk up here, and he's going to grab the tent door and pull it open. Okay, so now having done that, what we'll do is we're doing this kind of the smart raster level way, right? So let's go like this, and then have a really deep shadow color. And let's go ahead and get that in there too. So, I mean, arguably what you really want is a whole level underneath that's like black or something, but we'll see. So, to do this, I'm going to have to put in some lines, and we'll do a normal fill. Okay. think this is what I want. Pretty sure. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's the right idea. Okay, cool. File, save all. Okay, so LTT says he watched the stream once and now you're back. Hey, cool, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate all my viewers. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, go. Yep. All right. So now just to be nice to you guys, I'll give you some frame of reference here. This is what we're coming out of, this shot right here. You can see the soldier and Fala approaching the tent. Boom. And frankly, they're probably not really going to need 3 seconds. But, in fact, this is one of those moments where I probably want to pause half a second and think about what I'm doing. Because really, the compositional challenge here is that Fala is to the right. Almost forgot in to the right. I swear, I was just telling my wife. I've learned from live streaming on YouTube that my dyslexia is worse than I thought. It's still pretty mild, but I mean, I just said Fala's to the right. I mean, on this screen she is to the right, but from this perspective, she's on the left, okay? Because we're behind them. So I think what we'll do here with a smart raster brush or something, I'm going to go like this. Okay, and then just give her some details. Not too much. Just, I'm not trying to delineate details on her. Okay, so actually R key. And then, yeah, I just want to dial it in like something like that. Oops. That's not what I meant to do. That looks pretty good. B key. So, whoops, that's definitely not what I intended. Okay, I think that'll work. We can always add a shadow layer, but okay, so I'm gonna have to do a little sketchy poo on our soldier guy. So let's pick the most obnoxious color possible. Why have we already got this color there? That's a little strange. Let's zoom out and check something. Yeah, it's definitely not being used. Pretty weird. Okay, so okay, now we'll just take this layer and turn it back off. Oops. I feel, friends, like maybe I'm gonna sneeze. That's embarrassing. It wouldn't be the first time that's ever happened, but okay, I think that actually I'm going to be able to do this guy as a silhouette. I think it's actually going to look good. So let's turn Fala back on here. And yes, there we go. And let's maybe move the soldier somewhat towards the blue side of the spectrum. I am thinking I'm going to do some plastic tool here. Okay. let's just keep rocking here and see what happens. Okay, I see why. I inadvertently put Mr. Soldier Dude in the tent layer. Okay, that was arguably profoundly dumb. Profoundly dumb. Because I botched my colors here. Mm. I'm feeling like a silly goose. Okay, I don't know why Tahoma keeps doing that. That sucks in kind of a big way. Because those colors were really dialed in nicely. Okay, so we'll do it this way. Okay. Which means now, okay, so I would think this should be just slightly lighter. And now the soldier's colors are going to be botched. Okay, but that's okay. We can work with this. What we're going to do is add another color. As I said before, tilt it towards the blue. And then what I'll do, since I've only got one drawing here, is I'm going to do a fill tool op. And okay, that's interesting. That's a bug. And now Tahoma has acted stupid. Now Tahoma's just gone seriously screwy. So I see no option, unfortunately. Dang, I was really hoping today was not going to be one of those days where the software makes you want to claw out your own eyeballs. But okay, I mean, okay, we can work with this. That's fine. So what we'll do is we'll do a lasso select or a lasso fill, freehand fill, but we're going to do lines and areas. And so Tahoma's great idea. Okay, now this actually pisses me off. This is never, OpenToonz never did this that I can remember. So I do a lasso fill, and what Tahoma thinks is the right thing to do is to color the lines, but make the entire interior invisible. And I'll bet you there's no undo, but I'm going to save all and find out. My goodness. Yeah, so sad. Ah! Grr. Well, this is why the whole idea of testing the workflow is so important to me, because my deep heart's desire is to just go. I just want to go forward and take what's in my brain and get it down. And I get a little ornery when the tools seem to interfere with that or prevent it. But we're doing okay here. We are doing okay. Okay. So this kind of sort of works. The question, oh yeah, I was going to say, where is follow? Okay, so let's hit the L key and let this play back. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the, yeah, okay, this actually works pretty well. What we're going to do is put the plastic tool on the soldier so he can bend over to grab the tent. And I don't think, with the way this is composed, I don't think we need to necessarily see his hand. Especially actually, if we take Fala and just move her over a little bit like that. In fact, she should be moved over so that she's covering up the seam of the tent, because that gets rid of the sort of stupid coincidental tangent right there. And yes, that'll work. Okay, cool. Drawing needs concentration. Music is destructive. Kamara. Ooh. Okay, Kamara and Dead Pianist are going to get in a fight here, because they seem to have two very divergent opinions about the use of music while animating. Well, here's my guess. I'm going to say something. Kamara, you tell me if I'm wrong. All right. So this is for you, Kamara. I have not a prediction, but a premonition. And my premonition is that Kamara has read Richard Williams' The Animator's Survival Kit. Kamara is familiar with that book, is familiar with the milk call quote, and agrees with Richard Williams' opinion. Am I right, Kamara? I could be wrong, but I'm guessing that that's what's going on here. I think Kamara knows the Animator Survival Kit because Richard Williams has a real strong opinion in that book about listening to music while you animate. So, if I'm wrong, let me know. Okay, so we're gonna give them half a second, and then Mr. Soldier Dude is gonna. Okay, so we clearly have a problem. Let's go back to build skeleton, and what we need to do is move this up to there. And gosh, while we're here, we probably should. Tell you what, I think just for kicks and giggles, I'm gonna put one there and maybe one there. We'll see how it goes. Animate. So, am I wrong, Kamara? Yeah, I knew it. That's funny. I wasn't like totally sure I was right about that, but so so in the end, I gotta tell this story now. So in the Animator's Survival Kit, Richard Williams tells the story of when he actually what he did was he had hired Disney animators to work for him, and he basically used that to learn from them, which is a great thing. So one day, okay, there's a problem, but I see what the reason is. Yeah, so we need to take this and delete it. Okay, so what's going on here, just so you guys know, I found the original driver and reinstalled it for my stylus because I felt like the updated driver actually introduced some performance issues. Well, the original driver had issues of its own, and one of them was that if you create the nodes of the plastic tool in OpenToonz or right there it is. If you create the nodes with the stylus instead of the mouse, you get two nodes in many cases, and that's what we just saw. So anyway, so Richard Williams is telling this story how he hired Milt Call, and one day he says to Milt, "Hey Milt, what do you think about listening to music while you animate?" And Milt Call flew into and Milt's contention is that, and Richard Williams concurs, is that listening to music while you animate is like not good, bad policy. I don't know that he's right, frankly. I think he's probably wrong, if you want to know the truth. But try it both ways and see how it goes for you. Okay, so now in this case, probably what we could do here, what we're wanting to do, is get the timing of the soldier right, and then we'll put the flap wherever it needs to be to make it work. Bends over. That's probably not too bad. Okay, but I mean, once he leans over, it's not going to take him like a full second to decide what he's doing. So I'm going to move that up, and then what I want to do is from here to here. I could use the same key that I used before, but not bad, not bad, not bad. And I would say this can maybe come down a couple frames. So, well, I appreciate Kamara's input because anybody that's done a little studying and is familiar with those those little bits of animation tradition. I think that's a cool thing. For sure. So here we go. We might actually be kind of close to having a finished shot here, believe it or not. He leans over. Okay, okay. I'm going to say, because the recent stuff has been so frenetic, I'm just going to push that forward. And I'm going to say that's our shot. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, one thing that would be quite useful, me thinks, is to, I like it, Kamara. I'm reading your mind, dude. I'm reading your mind. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and use the body light effect, just because I've been using a fair number of, if you look over here, guys, frankly, especially back here in the stuff I did over the past week, you know, look at that. I mean, and that was not done in Tahoma. This is 100% Krita, so you can do it either way, but the, like here, same thing. That rim light effect definitely adds some pretty good production value at a pretty low cost. So I don't think you guys have actually seen this sequence. This was quite a monstrous bit of animation I did yesterday and the day before. And the first time I watched it, once I'd done the pencil test, it actually made me blurt out laughing. So that was I thought that was a pretty good sign. Okay, so what are we doing? We're gonna go. First thing we're gonna do is save our work. I'm kind of shocked at how quickly this shot went. Kind of happy about that. And now we're gonna go to the render settings, or output settings, I guess we should say. And we're gonna go to scenes /446/render/, and that's going to be 446, and these are going to be JPEGs. And we're going to go ahead and render this baby out and cut it into the show and see what we have. So that was actually a good experience. Here, jumping into Tahoma to see, like, is this going to be comparatively miserable compared to using Krita? I have to say that when I'm in the right, really pragmatic, just get it done attitude, I do tend to get stuff done pretty well in Tahoma. I know that probably sounds like a bunch of gibberish, but you know, it's been an ongoing thing to sort of figure out what tools are, you know, great to deal with versus maybe kind of drive me crazy or whatever. The ones that drive me crazy because they crash all the time. And frankly, Tahoma doesn't crash as much as OpenToonz or as Krita. Okay, so we want to go to Properties and disable resampling. And now to keep this consistent with where we've been thus far, I'm thinking a little color correction here would not be the worst thing ever. So just kind of feeling like the gamma, yeah, that's going to be more like what we've been seeing. Yep, pop that open. The only caveat I think would be boom, cut. So we've got a cut there. Okay, so the caveat would be that the shadow area inside the tent flap needs to be more black. So let's do that. Hey Maria. So in the tent layer, right here, I'm going to hit the G key so I can sample that color so that it gets selected. And what I want to do is I want to make it slightly darker, and I also want to reduce the saturation. Something like that. All right, Control Shift R magically cause an instant re-render, and I think we're, yeah, okay. And now we're inside the tent, and this is good. So we did have, now this is 446. I have to make a decision here. Are we going to actually chop this shot out of the show jump straight to this. Honestly, both of them are not needed. They're both pretty good. I mean, in terms of staging or whatever, they're both pretty good shots. But I think I'm going to do this because, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to actually add it to this shot. Mainly because it's going to give me a little bit of production value for a pretty low cost. So you say, what the heck are you talking about, Dave? Well, what I mean is, let's see what this times out like. So he goes boom, boom. Okay, so if we're going to do this, what we would have to do is go down here, delete that. Let's just delete all this, actually. Okay, boom, and let's save our work. So we're basically squishing two shots into one here. And all we're going to do, so this is why we need to cut this really tight, is once he goes like that, you don't really have a lot of time to, I mean, ostensibly, would somebody start opening the tent flap and then wait half a second before finishing opening it? Yes, it is possible. But bottom line is that needs to be a pretty tight edit. So, what are we doing here? Well, let's go like that and add a new image in the sequence, and then I'm going to hit the R key, sample that color, go here and hit the fill tool and just fill the whole area. And for whatever stupid reason, I guess I'll hit shift fill. Okay, I guess maybe, there we go, that's what I want. Okay, so now let's think about this for half a second. We're only going to have essentially 1 second or so, probably a second and a half. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We'll go to there. Okay. Now, this should be quite interesting. So I'm going to hit the B key. And let's add a color. And it's going to be very, very bright. Not quite white. And I better check this too. Okay, so it's opening in this direction actually. So okay, this needs to be normal. Come on. Let me think about this though. Yeah, I mean, if the guys are out there in silhouette, here's what the problem, by the way, was with that. Okay. I'm just going to keep rolling with this. So now I'm going to hit D and make sure I'm not having another dyslexia moment here. So from inside, it's actually going in the other direction. So I need to make a little change here. So now you're going to see this is the problem with the old driver, is if I make a selection and I go like this, oh, it loses the selection. So when I use the select tool in Tahoma, I have to pretty much use the mouse for the actual manipulations. Okay. So now we've got to do another additional tweak, which is to go Control C, grab this, just erase this, and then hit the S key and hit Control B. Okay. Why did you do that, Dave? I did that so that I can put the center here, and maybe I can stretch this, but I might have to. Yeah, not so much. I would have to put a guide in to make that work, so it'd be easier just to redraw it. Okay, no big deal. So let's draw. Okay, one thing you can do is just add a guide from here. So I'm putting a guide in there to show what the edge of the tent is, and you can see this is off. So B key, go like that. Fill tool. Okay, boom, boom. Yeah, that'll work. Now I'm actually hitting the V key, and I'm gonna hit D, V. We're just gonna make this big, and I'm just gonna do it the old school way. I'm just gonna paint this in like this, and one more. So this might seem like a convoluted way to do it. Again, the V key. And I'm certainly, to a degree, shooting myself in the foot here because I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to mask these guys in. Yeah. Okay, so I do need to mask them in, but what I could do, actually, this is kind of a fun little exercise. What I'm going to do is, I don't remember if I'm going to hit the G key and sample. Okay, yeah, that is not a color. So I need to add a color, and I'm going to make it that color. So all this stuff can be in silhouette. Okay, and now this is going to be quite an interesting little bit of let's see if it works. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm putting some knuckles on here. So you can see this is going to be pretty, you know, it's a pretty tight close-up actually. This is a little too much. So now I'm going to go like this. Well, actually, I think I need to, yeah, this is definitely not the normal way to work in Tahoma, but that's okay. Definitely not the normal way. Okay, so let's say this is going to be here. Okay. Do you mind answering about OpenToonz questions? No, go ahead, man. Ask away. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is add another color and make this slightly lighter and slightly bluer. This is a really, really wacky way that I'm doing this, and I'm going to work backwards here. Some people would say it's a stupid way to do it, but, and it may be, but I'm going to try it anyway. Okay, that's too small. Oops, I blew it again. So the reason I say this is wacky is because I'm not using masking or anything like that. I'm literally just drawing this shape and then I'm going to fill it, which is a really unusual way to do it. Oh, that's interesting. That's definitely interesting. So Tahoma does not know how to do a fill operation anymore, apparently. Didn't know that. But okay. If that's what we have to deal with, then that's what we'll deal with. No problem. Okay. Now, the question is, let me see something. The selection tool does not have a selective mode. Hey, Claude. So the only thing I can figure to do is go here and seriously, Tahoma, you're gonna show me onion skins. You see how you can see the flap of the tent in his hand, and so it's giving you onion skins? So the only thing that the onion skins aren't showing me is the only thing that I want them to show me, which is this silhouette. That doesn't, everything else is there, but the thing you want to see, no, 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 you don't get to see that. Okay. Oh boy. I swear. Okay, that I'm going to leave. Maybe a line there. Okay, that's fine. We're going to do this the hard way. Just because it's a fun challenge. If there's a little bit of variation in this, it does not freaking matter. That just gives it a little bit of life. Okay? I'm just going to keep this simple. Keep it simple, Sherlock. Okay? Okay, that's what we're going with. And now, as I say, I have to... what do I have to do? Back in the days when people used this crazy gooey stuff called paint, this is how you had to do everything. You had to actually paint it in. Okay, let me check this. Okay, so that runs all the way to the top, so that's good. I wonder if that area will fill. I better save my work, because it's certainly worth a try. Here we go. Yeah, that would be a no. Okay. Yeah. Can you imagine if you had to actually hand paint every single thing? We're so spoiled by our digital tools, aren't we? But no, it's good. This is going to be a cool shot when it's done. Okay, you wait for your cookie to... Tahoma, you wait for your cookie. Me, does rebooting work? Yeah, well, see, look at that. That is definitely bugginess. Now, it's always been true that if you use the this tool, what Tahoma calls the Smart Raster Paint tool, the Smart Raster Paint tool is in fact anything but smart, because it's, as you can see, quite stupid when it comes to fill operations, because it's not looking for your basic pixel border edge areas to decide where to freaking fill, which is, yeah, dumber than a box of rocks, but I guess that's what we call a smart raster paint tool. How do you make your smart raster paint tool smart? What do you do? Well, step one is to make it as stupid as possible. If it's as stupid as possible, then we can call it a smart tool. Don't you understand? Don't you understand how this works? You fool. Oh, you gotta laugh. You gotta laugh. Well, you don't gotta laugh, but you probably should. Otherwise, as I said earlier, you'll want to claw out your own eyeballs. But anyway, looks like we're almost done here. Anyway, so I don't trust it to find this edge, because, you know, expecting a fill tool, expecting a fill tool to actually find an edge is, well, it's just asking too much, people. That's just, you know, come on. But, you know, to be fair, if I were to sort of unpack all the steps I have to take to get the same job done in Krita, it's kind of a similar situation, so no big deal. What I'm going to do is I am going to experiment with how I might be able to create a glow around this white so that there's a glow bleeding in. That might be kind of cool. This is only a 1.5 shot, so, and then if we go over here, we'll see that what we're doing is we've got this quick shot that this is a re-envisioning of this shot, because this shot was actually re-envisioning of this shot. Oh my gosh, it's so confusing. So this is where we're going to end up. I don't know if you guys can see it, if it's contrasty enough, but this is a wide shot where the soldier has the tent wide open, and here's Tianara sulking in the tent. And since we have this establishing shot, kind of clarifies why this little bit here is just for effect, and I would definitely like to have a glow as the light is kind of bleeding in from outdoors, is the idea. Okay? So, do you prefer vector or raster levels? No contest. I don't use vector levels like hardly at all. The only thing I have found a use for them recently, though, actually, with for shadows. Only because you've got the ability to do like I do in Krita with the freehand path tool that's filled. Well, you can do that with vectors in Tahoma, so you can draw a shape and it's automatically connected and filled. So doing things like these shadows is kind of fast actually with vector levels. So there's definitely that possibility. So now what I'm going to look at here is, I think so. Yep. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Now I'm starting to rethink that. Something like that. Okay. So now the question becomes, how do we get a glow on this? And my suspicion is that in the schematic, we can probably put an effect on the entire, let me check. I'm unfortunately going to have to use two screens here to be able to see what I'm doing. Okay. So if we're going to go this route, what would probably be prudent at this juncture would be to go like this. Take these levels and actually move them all over like this, so that I can isolate this one. Actually, I want to isolate this. What is this? So this is, we'll call this Silsol. S-I-L-S-O-L means silhouette soldier. Okay? So now, here's hoping, people. I can go over here, and we're going to take the Silsol layer, and we're going to add a glow effect. So what would it be? Probably a light effect, glow. Whether the glow effect works the way we might hope. Okay. So what we're going to do is we've got, okay. We have a, let's see what these controls do. Okay, that's kind of interesting. So it affects the whole layer. That's too bad. But, let's just crank this down to, let's just crank it down to 5 and see what, okay, so it actually is somewhat, gosh, it's bound and determined to affect all the colors in the layer. So that's understandable. Not altogether unexpected. It's not really what I wanted, though. So we're going to have to do this in a more complicated way. So now we're going to get into the zone of the type of thing you would do if this was not OpenToonz, but in fact was Blender. What we would do is we would add a glow layer that's going to have to be based completely on a clamped black and white version of the scene. So you're going, what the heck are you talking about? Here's what we're going to do. I think I can make this work. Okay, step 1 is I'm going to add a curves. Let's do this the simplest way possible. So let's go to image adjust, curves. Okay, so we're going to send that out there and send this in here. So now there we see what we get from the curves tool, which is kind of not what I expected because, okay, so, well, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, so here's what we're going to do. So let's double click this. And what we want to do is make the, make it really, really black, other than what's really, really white. And then the white stuff we're going to clamp like that. So we wind up with a purely black and white image here. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take that and simply add a blur, because that's really all a glow is anyway, is a blur. So 50 pixels is probably okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually composite this over top of the scene in general. So, all right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add layer blending. Let me see here what we can do. We could do an over, but man, I'm thinking I want to do a, let's do the old overlay. I am stupidly enamored of the overlay effect. So let's see what that does. Everything except what we wanted. Yeah, what it's doing is it's blurring everything, not just the bright stuff. So, how do we get this to treat it as a mask? What if we reverse these? I'm totally spitballing here, folks, so you're going to have to bear with me. Sorry. Okay. Oops, that wasn't what we meant to do. I meant to do that. And that just blurs everything. Okay, overlay. Well, of course it would. Don't be stupid. Yeah, of course it does. Duh. Okay, we'll go back to this. So my beef here is that I want to treat... Boy, this is one of those times when I wish Darren was here telling us how to do this. Because, let me have blurred, is blurred a lot. So I'm seeing the black blurred kind of a lot. I'm seeing the white like barely blurred at all. So this is a tad vexing because it appears that the software is making some choices that are less than stellar. So what can we do? Well, I'm going to take a completely different approach entirely, which is to say I'm going to cheat. How am I going to cheat? Well, what I'm going to do is actually add another layer that's going to be just a regular raster level. And I'm going to use an airbrush. Why fight it, folks? Why fight it, I say? Let's just paint in what we want. And let the software do the job for us. Okay, so now we're going to go, yeah, that works. So this is going to be the D key. And then we can always turn it down a bit, right? We can always turn it down. So, and we can always blur it as well, actually. So it never hurts to consider just rolling your own effects the old school way. Not always the right choice, but sometimes it is. That's pretty much what I was trying to do. So now, if we're going to do this, let's hit F3 again, and we're going to take this is going to be the glow, so we'll just call that glow. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and blur that a bit, because it's for one thing, the brush is, you can sort of see the brush, the repeating pattern of the circle that's creating the blur. It's kind of visible, so it would be good to blur that out a bit. But yeah, the airbrush is lovely and organic. I agree, Maria. Okay, that's a pretty good looking blur, actually. Maybe 60. Yep, that makes a nice smooth glow. Golly, that looks good. Okay, and now, let's save our work. I'm curious if it's possible to erase back out of this. I suspect it is. Let's turn off the preview. Yeah, we can do that. Okay, that's cool. I feel like I got a little bit aggressive there. Maybe just a little bit on that one. Okay. Let's see what it looks like rendered. Okay. So now this works pretty well. I mean, the idea, I mean, this is kind of an ominous moment, frankly, for Tianara, as these people are coming in. And by the way, worth mentioning, I didn't need to use the airbrush. Okay, if I'm gonna blur it in post, I could have actually drawn sharp lines in white and just blurred them that way. You know, a blur's a blur, so technically the airbrushing wasn't really needed. So for you, Maria, I would make that point. If I had not used the airbrush, it still would have worked because it's getting blurred. Question: do we really want this to be? See, this is where the overlay thing I was talking about would come into play. So let's just say, let's see if it makes a difference. I don't think it will, frankly. Okay, I don't really want to have to put everything in the background. So why don't we put this here and this here and see if that works. That's actually not bad. That's kind of what I wanted, because remember, the tent is kind of pink. So by using overlay mode, I want both though. I want both. I want the overlay mode, so this is getting a little more complicated. Let me see, the opacity, that's going to be 1. Clipping mask? No, we don't want it to be a clipping mask. Okay, but I also want the plain old, let's just do a plain old over. Okay, so this is going to be over. Sorry, that's wrong. This is what I'm trying to do. Okay, the foreground, and this is also wrong. It's actually, this is the foreground. And hold on a second here. Dave's getting confused. Man, you guys are out there going, Dave, have you been drinking? No, I haven't. Well, actually, I did have a beer, but okay, so we've got the overlay thing. So what I'm wanting to do here is I'm wanting to take the blur without the overlay and put that over everything, and then crank down the opacity of it. So let's just start over here, and let's do layer blending. We could do an add, source 1, source 2, that would be okay. So source 1 is going to be Is there a mix? This is kind of fun. Layer blending over. So I want to put this over that, and so we might have to reverse those two. And okay, so let's move that there. Okay, that's what I'm after. Why? I'm not convinced that that did what I really wanted it to do. Let's turn the intensity of this down to 40 and see what that does. I mean, that pretty much... Okay, so if we turn it down to 0, are we still seeing the overlay? And the answer is no. So... Darn. We're going to replace the effect. Diggity dog. I'm going to do add. Okay, that's interesting. And I want to... I'm just going to reverse these and see what they do. Now, additive just, well, it obviously adds it, but I am going to reverse course and say that this is becoming punitively time consuming for what I think is probably a marginal benefit. So yeah, you do see a change there. I mean, it's doing what we wanted. It's just not very intense. So let's turn this back up to 100 and see what we get. Okay. That seems like that was what we were trying to do in the first place. It's kind of feeling like maybe Tahoma got it wrong and then sort of woke up. But I think we're there. Okay, so we got 39. Let's see here. Yeah, that's fine. So we'll make it an even 40 frames just because we like even numbers. The OCD in us may like that better. So let's file, save all, and hit Control-Shift-R to render that baby. And then I'm going to come over here, and I don't remember how many. I guess I did render the whole thing. So that's cool. Foomp. It does seem a little aggressive. You know, not horrible. I'm thinking I might tighten it up in editing later, but not bad. And I think I'm done for today. Actually, I do believe, yeah, as of that shot, I've actually knocked out 30 minutes of show today. So that was my goal, was to find out how long does it really take to do 30 minutes of show, given not a lot of leverage. Meaning I'm having to do background paintings and all that kind of stuff. So let me delete that region. And that's 31 seconds. So this was all done today. I'm going to actually do the following. I'm going to switch this to the... I'm going to switch my preview device so I can... sorry. Preview device preferences, identify. So that's number 2. Okay, so I want to display it on number 2. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. I was actually on the wrong screen, but now I'm on the correct screen. So if we raise this up to full resolution, I think you're going to see it there. Okay, cool. That's what I was trying to do, people. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and roll. This would be today's work. Wow, it's looks pretty crisp on here, I must say. Not too horrible. Not too horrible. I can see where the background painting probably needs a little touch up. And that's it. That's today's work. Okay, and now if we go all the way back to basically this is the beginning of episode 2 and probably basically the last week of work. But I must say, I'm finding it looks pretty good, I think. Definitely good to watch it in full HD on a full screen once in a while. I like Luca's look. He's like, oh, this is going to end well. And there goes Monkey. Monkey got his prize. And then this episode 1 is in the editor. So episode 1 is animated, and I'm continuing to work on episode 2 before I start pursuing a crowdfund situation for this show, for the 12 episode series, because I want, as I said at the beginning of the live stream today, is I want to really test the workflow to make sure that I can deliver what I'm claiming to be able to deliver. You know, it turns out that consistently knocking out 30 seconds of show a day probably takes about 8 hours. I thought I could do it in 6, but it doesn't seem to hold true. So that's fine. There we go. So I'm satisfied. I got my 30 seconds in, and you guys have been wonderful to talk to while I've been getting the last part of it done. And so yeah, there are shots in episode 1 that still need some touch up, but basically, you know, I'm feeling like we're in good shape here, all in all. So, any final questions before I sign off for today? Because I'm about to sign off for today. The show's over, as they say. Speaking of voices, I definitely need to get in the studio here and start doing some of the knocking out the voices and then get the pixel brush. Okay, Claude, I'm going to answer Claude's question. There is not a pixel brush per se, but what there is if you go to a regular smart raster level and hit the B key to use a brush, see this little option right here called pencil? That takes all anti-aliasing off. And I think for what you're talking about, where you want to have a pixel brush, you would use a brush in pencil mode, and you don't get any softening or any of that kind of thing. So, and ideally, probably if you want a pixel brush, you would also probably turn pressure off. If you turn pressure off, but then turn the hardness up all the way like it is right here, you're still going to get pretty much a pixel brush. But if you want to strictly have no anti-aliasing, just a pure binary thing, turn pencil on and you're good to go. All right. Dead Pianist, that's a great question. The short answer is no. I mean, if I had this whole YouTube thing to do over again, I tell you what I'd do. Seriously, if I was doing it all over, I would. But you know, I needed over a year to get my skills up to scratch. Okay, so setting that aside, I would probably be cranking out a 3-minute episode every 2 weeks is probably what I'd be doing. But you still have the problem of dealing with, you know, getting voice actors and all that kind of stuff and blah blah blah. So it's, you know, being on a normal show type schedule probably is preferred, but I don't know, it's not like it's a rule or something. So anyway, I am figuring this out as I go. Uh, so I'm sorry. Short answer is I mean if you go back and look at my YouTube channel, there's like 500 videos, okay, of live streaming, and a lot of it was of an anime project I was working on before I started working on Salt and Light. So I'll have to talk to my beautiful woman and ask her what she thinks about the idea of maybe rolling out some of those um, some of the anime stuff and actually releasing it, which I have no problem doing so. There's just a few hoops again we have to jump through on the soundtrack side of things. So anyway, that's it. I'm done, and as you guys know.